I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC. Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, with TC.
All right. Welcome. This is Financial Literacy with TC. I am your host, TC. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me. So many podcasts out in the world that you can choose to listen to, but you continue to choose to listen to this one, and I'm so appreciative of that. So today, I want to just remind you guys to continue to like, subscribe, and share. Our goal is to continue to have Black representation when we talk about finances. And today, I'm so excited to have my guest because she is one of the people who I enjoy just having conversation with. And she is somebody who is doing amazing things in her life and amazing things in the community. And today she was gracing me with her presence to be able to talk about life insurance and real estate. So I hope you guys will enjoy. But before I introduce her and let her introduce herself, I just want you guys to have a little background about her. So she actually is a graduate of Cheney University. So shout out to HBCUs. Yeah. She's also a graduate of Point Park University. She's currently a real estate agent, and she also sells life insurance, which is so vital based on, we need to make sure that we're taking care of our assets and things that happen to us if we don't continue to live on this earth, which we know is a certainty. But with that being said, she also has had her own business. She's been a career counselor. She has definitely been in the financial industry. So I'm always excited about that. So I just want you guys to, show your love and show appreciation for somebody who's looks like us and continues to, just pour into people's lives with what she does in real estate and in being a registered agent. So Shaunte Blanchard, I just want to thank you for joining me because you are doing amazing work in our communities and reaching so many people. And I just want to thank you personally.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, I do always tell people, can't nobody represent you like you. So hopefully I did you justice with what I said, but I do want you to take time to just, be your own representation and let people know in your way how you, the level of industries that you're in and the things you do.
Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Shaunte Blanchard. On a personal side, some things that I like to do for fun and just a little bit about me. On a personal side, I love traveling and I also love going to wine tasting. So wherever there's a wine tasting, I love wineries. That's just me. I also love spending time with my family. I love holidays, just being able to eat and just drink and just be around my family. That's a little bit about me on a personal side. On the business side, I am, like Tyler stated, I am a licensed real estate agent with Berkshire. I'm also a licensed life insurance agent with Primerica. And I've been doing life insurance and real estate for about the same time. I've been doing life insurance since 2020. So that's a little bit about me so far.
I love it. Yeah. And honestly, that's a deadly combination, being a real estate agent and a life insurance agent. I'm curious, I guess my first question is, I'm curious of what prompted you to be one or the other, or ultimately you became both, but what kind of, sparked your interest in becoming an agent? In either field.
Okay, so I'll first start with more so life insurance because that's more so the longer one for me. Yeah. So with life insurance, what sparked my interest in life insurance was because in 2019 my mother was diagnosed with an illness. She was very sick, and with her being sick, her illness was incurable. So we had to think about worst case scenario. If worst case scenario takes place, what does her assets look like? Right. So we had to sit down with her life insurance agent and we had to go over her policy and really look and figure out how much money, does my mother have for us to bury her? Right. And what ended up happening is she had this policy, y'all, for decades, and her policy amount was the same. She did not get an increase in her benefit, no, nothing. Wow. And when I looked at it, I was just so astonished. And I'm talking to the agent like, at no point did you all want to call her? Did you want to ask her, ma'am, would you want to do an increase? Nothing.
There was no real relationship.
No, nothing at all. So just seeing that, it just pissed me off. Right. And I realized like there's no generational wealth being transferred from my mother to me and my brother.
Right.
I can't buy a house in cash with that.
Right.
I can't, buy a car, or it really wasn't anything that I really could do. Right. But I truly was grateful that my mom had some type of life insurance on her life.
Right. Because it softened the financial burden.
It sure did. It sure did. And as you all know, like there's a lot of people that don't have no type of life insurance at all.
We see it all the time.
Literally, truly. And also another thing that helped with just dealing with the grief in general was my mother had a kind of like a death plan. Mm-hmm. So when she passed, even before she passed away, my mother, she's a Capricorn. So my mom, she's bossy. She's on her game. She's all about it.
Right.
So with her, she ended up having a whole plan. So in her like death plan, my mom wrote her own obituary, her own. She wrote it the way she wanted it to be.
Right.
Her own self. She didn't want me to go in. She didn't want me to change anything. The way it's written on this paper, Shaunte, this is the way you put it in that obituary. That's just what it is. And even from like her plan, my mom, like I said, she was bossy. She had it written down as to what color she wanted us to wear. She had it written down as to who was cooking. She had it written down as to who was decorating.
Right.
Like she had everything written down. She also had it written down as to who was preaching, who was going to be singing. Like my mom had everything written down, and just having that plan, it made it a whole lot easier to just go through everything.
Right.
Because if she wouldn't have had it, I wouldn't have known what to do.
Right.
I would have been clueless.
And even though the circumstances, more, somber, the fact that was her mindset is astonishing and amazing. And I love it because that is kind of what people think that a will is going to do for them, but they really don't have a death plan. And they really don't get precise, and they don't get specific about how they want their ending to be. And I'm gonna speak more to what I've witnessed with people I've dealt with in the Black community. Obviously, if we don't have some type of real estate planning estate planning in place, then we don't have any wills. We don't have anything to take care of, our demise.
Nope.
And if you could do so, which we all need to, that's the way you do it.
Yeah. And also too, like you also got to let people know where the paperwork is.
Right.
Like most of the times people have life insurance policies, but they hide it and they don't tell people where it's at.
Right.
You may have a policy. Okay. Let us know where it's at. Who's your beneficiary? Maybe have a family meeting.
Right.
Where you're telling your family, okay, does everybody here have life insurance? Who's the beneficiary of that policy? And you can meet one-on-one with that person just so that way you let them know, this is where my paperwork is. Please don't kill me or anything like that. But I trust you enough to know that if something happens to me, you are the person responsible.
Right. And I've seen in some families where they have the eldest, sibling be the one responsible. And sadly enough, that is a burden to bear. Why wouldn't you have the collective come together if circumstances are ideal, and that way, everybody's in tune. So there's not, because sadly I know of a situation where the family was being attacked and they were fighting each other. And recently one of my previous guests, shout out to Miss Gloria, she's a CPA and does it for the state. And she said the state has she said either millions or billions. I don't have to rewatch the episode, but millions or billions of dollars that are unclaimed because of family bickering, because there's no clear.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to touch on that briefly, I remember I worked for PNC Bank briefly in investment operations. And what we used to do in that department was when people would pass away and they would have like an estate, I would be that person to get all those letters that would have to be sent out to the beneficiary to tell them, you are the beneficiary of Mrs. So-and-so's estate. This is how much this costs. Like we need you to claim this. But just seeing all those letters there were so many people where sometimes they didn't have anyone.
Right.
And that money would go to the state
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't have any heirs for it to go to.
Right.
So when it comes to life insurance, I just like to tell people, make sure that you have beneficiaries listed and have more than one.
Right.
And make sure that it's someone that you actually trust. Be mindful and be careful to those that want to just put boyfriends and girlfriends on a policy. Like, that's wonderful and that's cute, but just make sure that it's somebody that you genuinely trust. Right. I see it all the time. And these people end up breaking up. They don't change their beneficiary on their policy. And if something happens to that person, that boyfriend with his new girlfriend, it's collecting your death benefit.
Yep.
And it's just completely crazy.
Or if they got 3 wives and don't change it.
Yeah, because
I've seen some of that.
They always say there's like a stereotype where like men don't change their beneficiaries or whatnot.
Right.
But I just tell people, please, on a yearly basis, go through who your beneficiaries are. Make sure it's at least 3 people that you genuinely trust with your life. So if something happens, they're going to get that money and they're going to bury you or get you cremated. Right. Like, don't just add on a boyfriend that you've been dating for 6 months. Like, don't. Now, if you all are cool like that and you trust that person, by any means, you go ahead. But from the situations that I've seen, it's just not a good situation.
Right.
So just make sure you have more than one beneficiary. I've heard of a situation where there was a father listed on a mother and daughter's policy. He was the only person listed on their as their beneficiary on their policy. Right. They both passed away together. Yeah. So he ended up getting the money for the mother and the money for the daughter. Right. And come to find out, I guess they were all now on good terms. So either way, he still got the money. Right. Because he was the beneficiary of both of those policies. Right. So it's just something to think about on the life insurance side. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
Just to put a bow kind of on this portion of it, because I know we got to get back into why you know your mother was the spark that got you in the life. But the last part to this would be, you know, it's definitely, when it comes to us in the Black community, we don't think about the relationships and how they do change based on a falling out or, you know, just not understanding that, you know, you work so hard to build, you know, we got a ton of entrepreneurs, business owners, we got a ton of people buying real estate, we got a ton of people doing so much and trying to build assets, but yet they don't put the value in having their estate planning or their, you know, their death plan together. And it does detriments when we talk about the generational wealth gap between us and our white counterparts. So
it does. It definitely does. But yeah, just moving on from that, like just with, you know, my mom being sick, looking at her policy, you know, that made me want to help other families. Right. So that way I can make sure, okay, if you have the means to get a policy, okay, you're able to afford it, let's get this done. Right. And let's be realistic. What can you truly afford? Right. Because what I don't want to happen is I don't want you to get a policy and you're like, oh, I want a $500,000 policy because I'm nice and healthy. But yet and still you can't personally afford that. Right. So you have it for 2-3 months and then you let it lapse. Right. Like, we're out here wasting our time. Right. We want to get you a policy where you can actually afford it and actually keep it and hold on to it. Right. You know, and also get all your family members, your children, your partner, get everyone covered in your household. Absolutely. So that's my life insurance portion for you. And
I love that because, you know, I'm someone who intentionally likes to build relationship within the Black community and people. If I can get, and not to say that out, you know, but I like to be very selective about the relationships that I do. So I do have life insurance, and, you know, I was just comfortable having someone who looks like me. And the goal is, when we start talking about these difficult conversations, you can be more comfortable with somebody who has a real, you know, passion for what they're doing, and they can give it to you straight. Yeah. And sometimes we just get sucked up into anything, and then
literally, like the thing about me, and, you know, oftentimes working with a lot of people that look like you or look like us, rather, just in general, it's a thing where you got to get that right agent that's able to explain stuff to you.
Right.
Like it's, don't nobody want nobody that's going to sit in front of them that don't look like you and they're just passing paper to you to sign.
Right.
And oftentimes that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
You're going to get someone where they may not oftentimes care about you. They may not oftentimes care about your general wealth for your family.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look like them. They don't care.
Right.
They're probably thinking 9 times out of 10, you probably don't even have the money to keep up with the policy. They're probably already stereotyping you.
Right.
And I'm just being completely honest. No shade to anybody.
Right.
I'm just being completely real.
Right.
But it's different when you work with your own.
Yeah.
It is, especially if you have a good worker that knows what they're doing, a good agent. Sure.
And a lot of times there are people out who are predatory. Mm-hmm. They'll come at you and they'll make you think, oh, they're kind-hearted, they're genuine, but yet it was just to get in so that way they can just, like you said, slide that information. You don't read any fine print. You don't ask all the necessary questions that you need to ask. So therefore, you signed up for something you didn't even need or want, and it doesn't meet your financial goals. Having a life insurance policy, there's so much that goes into it that you can't just sit there and read something and think you have it all figured out. You need someone who can go through it with you, show patience, and really ask the right questions, because you might not know all the questions because this is your first time getting policy. So
and you're definitely not gonna know it all. Like, and it's all so confusing. Like, you really have to like read your fine print, know what's really in your policy, know exactly what you're getting. If you have cash value, okay, pay attention to that.
Right.
That's all wonderful to have, but sometimes those people don't tell you, you could borrow that money if you want to, you can, but you have to pay interest back on the money that you borrow in your policy. Right. And say, for instance, you pass away during that time that you borrowed that money. You got to subtract that from your death benefit. Yep. And that's sometimes a thing that people do not explain to folks. So whatever policy you're comfortable with getting, that's fine. Just make sure your agent reads everything to you and you fully understand. That's
or in the case of your mother, have an agent who your financial situation has changed. Let's see if you're still in the right policy. Let's have conversations ongoing about changing what your policy looks like. Because in the case of your mother, it doesn't look like that was happening.
It did not happen. Like, I even asked her, and I mentioned to her, I said, hey, Mom, did they ever call you? Did they send anything? And I even asked her agent, because he was at the dining room table. And I said, did you all call her? Did you communicate? Did you send her an email? He was dumbfounded. And he didn't have nothing to say.
Right.
So I'm like, at that point, I have to make sure that I'm able to help as many families as I can and protect them so that this doesn't happen to no one else. Because there's no way that my mom should have had the policy that she had. Right. And they didn't add nothing onto it. Now, I could see if they mentioned it to her and said something to her and she said no.
Right.
I get that part.
Yeah.
But when you're telling me you didn't reach out at all, you weren't sending emails, you weren't calling, you weren't checking in, what were you doing? Just collecting her money.
Shoot, I get stuff in the mail all the time from my policy.
Yeah, but you figure back then, that was the 90s when she got that policy.
Right, yeah.
Things were completely different.
Yeah, things changed.
Things were completely different. Right. So,
well, I love that you took, unfortunately, something that happened to you in your life and turned it into a positive to now where you can pretty much, take action and try to avoid and try to help as many people as you can from those pitfalls. Let's transition into how you got into real estate. Because the life insurance was first, correct? Or was real estate first?
I want to say they kind of happened about the same time. Okay. Really, to be honest with you, I'm going to be completely honest. Real estate actually was first. So I started my real estate classes way, way back. Gotcha. I should have been like a broker by now. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't even have enough time to go into the story because they're going to be like, what? Girl, you're crazy. So nevertheless, I've been took these real estate classes and I just kind of put it off with taking my exam.
Right.
And, I finally picked everything up back in 2021, 2022. Okay. And I finally went through like doing the classes and being licensed. But yeah, originally real estate started years ago. I'm not even going to say the year because I'm not.
Right. Hey, in God's time.
Yeah, literally in God's time. But what led me more so into real estate was I ended up going into in my opinion, a bad, I guess you could say a bad real estate deal. And what it was I ended up purchasing a home in 2028 outside of Pennsylvania, and I ended up purchasing this home with family members. And I already told Reva, so Reva know the story. Shout out to Reva. I let Reva know the whole. Shout out to Reva. I let her know the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
No, 2018. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, no. If I said 2028, y'all, that ain't it. That's the future. No, it was 2018. I had purchased a property in another state with family.
Right.
And moving forward, it was in a whole nother state. You know, you're thinking that things are going to go well. You're thinking that, you know, you're going to have a different life somewhere else.
Right.
Things happen. You know, you have to come back. I had to come back home. My mother got sick. Long story short, it is just a pain in the behind when you're not living somewhere and your name is still on a house that you don't pay, but other people live in the house, but they don't consistently pay the mortgage.
Right.
And you still get that ding on your credit. You know, and even when you have those family meetings and even when you talk to people, it's just like people just are not doing what they need to do. And some people think they can live for free.
Right.
So I say all that to say that's what more so led me into real estate, just being more knowledgeable, learning about the whole real estate game, just so that way I have a clear picture of what to do and what not to do.
Right.
Because at that time, I really did not know what not to do. I was new.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm thinking that, oh, this family member has my best interests at heart. They seem knowledgeable. They seem like they know what they're doing. So I felt like I could trust this family member.
Right.
But lo and behold, it's just like, you got to be careful because family be the main one that will try to use you.
Right.
If you have a job, W-2, savings, 401k, family are the main people that will use you. And they'll try to like sweep it under the rug and act like they're not and act like everything is okay, but they're using you.
Right. No, and honestly, from, you know, my background in banking, you see so many horror stories about disagreements turning into major, and there's always some type of implication when it comes to assets. And family or not, they're to protect yourself. The best thing you can do and should do is have some type of legal agreement. And whether that's creating a business entity and then having an operating agreement, or whether that's just having documentation notarized, signed by a lawyer, whatever you can do to have some type of legal ramifications if X, Y, and Z don't happen.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the biggest thing you can, you know, bank on, because again, our people, we don't realize a good relationship now does not mean a good relationship forever.
Right about that.
And the first thing we do, I'm petty.
And it's a thing where it's like, oh, you're petty about your credit score.
Right.
You're petty about your savings, but it's like, just being completely honest, and I'm sure there's people out here who have experienced this, even if you're renting to family members, people think they can live for free, and that is just not the case.
Right.
If you're staying somewhere, even if you do not own it, you need to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
You just can't live somewhere and not pay.
Right.
And you think, oh, I'm just going to pay whenever I want to pay. It's okay.
Right.
Like, so it's just things like that is just not cool. So I say all that to say, be mindful of who you invest with. Be careful of those family members and friends, even like your friends. Sometimes just because you guys are friends, that don't mean that you all need to go into investing. Right. Sometimes the person that you actually work with on your job may be a better person to invest with, better than your best friend or your close friend or your family member. Sometimes that person that you met at a networking event is the better person to partner with. Right. Because everybody, they're just not always good to do business with.
Yeah, because there is a portion of removing personal versus business, and many people think they can do it until it's time to do it, and it's quite the opposite. And you said something interesting about the dynamic between you and a family member, and typically, you know, that's kind of why this podcast exists, is to be able to, before you make any life choices or life decisions or major purchases, get on a YouTube channel, get a mentor, get somebody who you can, you know, do some research about, hey, because we're so in love with the pros of everything that we're about to do and get it. We're so excited. Oh, I'm about to get my first investment property, but we don't take enough time dealing with the cons or, you know, foreshadowing problems that can arise, or we don't do enough of that, so therefore we jump into a deal that is not going to be favorative, and we have very little things we can do to get out of that situation. So I just would, if nothing else you take from our conversation, is really just thinking about everything that can go wrong, because literally you have, like I said, you have a deadly combination of being an agent and a broker, because that's what life insurance is really about, is being able, like, that's insurance in general. It's if when something goes wrong, you're protected, you're covered. And in real estate, if you don't do your due diligence, something can go wrong.
It sure can.
There might not be no coverage.
Literally. And that right there is what made me, get back into real estate, because I was just like, okay, let me figure this out. I want to be able to purchase another home moving forward, aside from this situation. Let me figure this out. So that's what more so led me into real estate.
Gotcha. So we've kind of done a great thing when we talk about, I say positives, negatives. What has been some of the things you've enjoyed most about being a broker and an insurance agent? Like some real exciting story, if any, have happened to you that, continue to, give yourself kudos or pat on the back that you are enjoying the work you're doing?
For me, so I'm a real estate agent. So for me, what I like is I like being able to learn as much as possible, being able to have access into these homes, being able to talk to people. And when I meet with them, being able to break everything down so that way they fully understand what they're getting themselves into. Not just a thing where, we're just going to go see this house, we're going to put this offer in, and that's going to be that. No. It's, taking that time to make sure that they fully understand what they're getting themselves into. If there's a question or there's a word that they don't understand, being able to break that down. Okay, let's talk commissions. Okay, we need to get a home inspection or whatnot. So being able to break things down with people. That's what I like about being a real estate agent. With being a life insurance agent, one of the things that I really enjoyed was, I remember one day I had a family meeting at my house, and I did 5 life insurance policies in one day.
Wow.
And I ended up writing policies for family members, because we had like a family meeting, we had family over. So back to back, I just was writing policies, and I just was talking to my family like, hey, everybody in this household, not in this household, but in this family needs to be insured. Like looking at my family members, okay, everybody look fly, y'all look nice, y'all got the newest iPhone, y'all got the newest J's on, your hair did, your nails did, everything looks good, you got a new car, but you don't have life insurance. And that pretty much was, kind of like the conversation with my family. So that was something that I loved.
We need more families doing that.
That's what I love. Writing those 5 policies in one day, it just made me feel good to get my family covered.
So September was Life Insurance Awareness Month. And I'm glad you shared that story, because I guess I want to ask this question to you. What do you think, or why is it that in our communities, we don't price that premium on life insurance? But we tend to see so many people on social media asking for GoFundMe, asking for donations. Last year, it broke my heart. One of my customers for the financial institution reached out and asked, does the financial institution I was working for, do they do donations for someone passed? And while my answer was very blunt, no, because they're all about making money in business. They don't give out, their sob stories don't move them.
Gotcha.
And you're fooling yourself. Like, they do good gestures and deeds by cutting a check, but that's more so or less to, for marketing or to have great PR. But to say that, they can't be just giving money out to every time somebody died. Like they don't, financial institutions don't operate that way. But I told her, I'll look to see what resources or community organizations, see what we can do. Unfortunately, the timetable she gave me was so unrealistic that, we weren't able to help her. But I say all that to say, back to the main question, like, why is it we got all the nice there's a study out there. Black people spend trillions of dollars in specific industries, but when it comes to, we know all this, we know that, you know, the bridge to generational, the gap that exists is because we don't pass our assets on, and it gets to go to probate. Then the government got their hands on it. So just in your experience, what do you think that is?
In my experience, and just in my opinion in general, I think that oftentimes, first and foremost, a lot of people are not knowledgeable. They don't know. Or
don't want to be. They too busy. They too busy worried about the drama.
Yeah. and it could be a combination of things, truly. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that's just out here struggling with a lot of things that's bothering them. Like, you got poverty, you got people dealing with domestic violence, you got people that, you know, can't keep stable housing, food on the table. It's a lot of things that play into it. So I would say it's a combination of things. And then for those that can afford it, you know, that do look nice, that do have a decent job, sometimes it's just a matter of priorities. You know, sometimes people's priorities are not in the right place. And then sometimes you got people that don't care. Like, I've had people where I've sat down with them and they would clearly tell me, oh, I don't need a life insurance policy. My mom got life insurance on me.
Wow.
And I'm like, you are a grown man or a grown woman. Like, more so of men that'll say that. But you are a grown man. You need life insurance. You need your own policy. And my question to people I say is, do you even know if your mom's even still paying on that policy? Like, you may think somebody has a policy on you, but do you even know what that looks like, the amount? Is she still paying on it?
Because if you're just the beneficiary, you're not privy to any of that information.
She gets that, which is fine. But even still, if you're, you know, if you have children, you have a wife, a husband, or whomever, or children, you don't want to have your own policy for yourself. And even if your mom does have it, okay, add a little extra on there. You know, maybe you have a kid later down the line. You want to be able to pass something down to your family and lighten that burden. So, I mean, that's personally what I think. I think that sometimes, and this is my personal opinion. That's my disclaimer. I think that sometimes people's priorities are not in the right place. And sometimes people just really don't care. They're not worrying about it. And they're naive about life and think that they're going to live to be 90 or 100 years old. They don't think that they're going to pass away when they're 40 or 25, or, you know, nobody's thinking about that. So,
but time after time, day after day, we see that couldn't be further from the truth. It's to the point where you can't go enjoy a night out, or you can't. I mean, let's keep it real. I keep it real on my stuff. You can't go to the schools.
No, you definitely can't.
Without it worrying about it being shot up. But I digress.
But even touching base on the schools, like, that's another thing. Like, and it's unfortunate and it's sad to even say this, but even our babies, we need to make sure that we have life insurance on these babies. Bad things are happening to our children. They are getting, you know, all types of crazy stuff. I ain't even gonna put it out there, but kids are passing away. We all know it, and it sucks and it's sad, but we need life insurance even on the babies.
No, and truth be told, it's only getting worse.
It is.
So for me, when I'm out in these schools, or I'm out doing workshops, or I'm in front of anybody, you know, my goal is to give them as much information as possible. And I really try to be as transparent and as honest as I can to, you know, let them know, like, look, these are the things that happen if you don't have these things in place. And I'm like, and I try to hit them with Uncle Sam's gonna get involved. It's going to probate, having a will, having an estate plan. Here's an attorney I know that is phenomenal at getting you educated. Here's a licensed agent that is phenomenal at giving you education. And just trying to be a resource and a connector for people, so that way, you know, they can take their due diligence to make sure that they're getting educated. I'm like, man, we got these $1,600 phones, $1,300 phones, and you don't use it to research any and everything.
Everybody gonna be doing TikToks, like, that's literally like the main thing. Like, people are just worried about, especially like these young kids, like, they're worried about TikToks. Parents are, you know, trying to pretty much take care of the household, pay bills. You're working 2 and 3 jobs. And even still, it's just still not enough.
Right.
But it's just like, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that generational wealth where, it's passed down generation after generation. So it's like generation after generation is struggling because we don't have generational wealth. We have generational poverty.
For sure.
And it's just a struggle all around.
Gotcha. So I think we did an excellent job giving people some context about what you do and why you do it. Let's talk about the future. So you've been an agent, you've been an investor. What does your career trajectory look like? Or like, do you see yourself continuing to, do these things, 10, 20 years from now? Or like, just have you given thought to, how you're going to approach the rest of your career?
Yes, I've been thinking about it. And I personally feel like my future in regards to real estate, I want to definitely continue to be a real estate investor. I want to buy more property. I would love to either start my own real estate investment group or join one. But I would love to buy more property in the Pittsburgh area. I would love to expand that out to other places, possibly other countries, if need be. But that's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
I would love to have a real estate and investment group here in Pittsburgh and in other places. So that's what I feel like my future is in regards to real estate.
I love that.
Yeah.
How about
with life insurance? So with life insurance, I want to still continue to teach people and talk to people about life insurance. So I plan on continuing to be a life insurance agent. And to be honest with you, I love real estate, but I really, really, really love life insurance.
Right.
Only because I feel like there's, like you said before, there's so many people that are passing away and they do not have the knowledge about life insurance. And I just really want to be able to sit down with people, talk to people, let them know their options based off of like their financials, and they tell me this is what I can afford based off of my bills.
Right.
Like that's what I truly love about life insurance, being able to work with people and help them. So I really, really love life insurance. So I feel like that's what I'll continue to be doing.
And I love that because I'm big on relationships. So anytime I come in contact with somebody who says they need insurance, they need a real estate agent, always have a referral list of, because I know a lot of insurance agents, I know a lot of real estate agents, and I always try to get a good sense of what type of personality, what type of vibe or energy am I getting from the individual asking me, so that way I can connect them to the right person who I think will be a good fit for them. For example, if I think somebody's very shy, very low key, they don't really like a lot of, I don't even want to use the word aggression, but someone who's very straight and to the point, then I might go with somebody, one of my friends or agents who are more tender-hearted.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's the right word. Just, they pick up on them
You
cues.
want somebody to match their energy.
Yeah.
You're talking about matching people's personalities.
And then there's some people who like somebody who's, very demonstrative or more,
like
assertive,
straight blunt, straight to, like you said, straight
for
to
me,
the point.
if I go buy a car, that's the type of personality that I want my salesperson to have. Like, this is what I want. And I want you to sell me on why it's a good choice.
Why you need it.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I approach when people are asking to get help improving their credit or get help with savings or budgeting. I'm like, well, we need to determine if I'm even the right fit for you. Yeah. Because I'm like, the information I'm about to give you won't make sense if we can't connect and you can't, feel that you can trust me and, it works both ways. And I just don't think we do enough of the vetting process. We so worried about instantaneous.
And it's another thing too, where it's like, even when you're working with people, you want to work with people that really want to do the work.
Right.
It's not a thing where you don't really want a person that you're working with where they want you to do everything for them. Right. And it's like, okay, I can only take you this far. You have to, take in that knowledge. You have to, do your budgeting in regards to like your credit and work on things like that. And those things take time, but you want somebody that genuinely wants to help, but that's also going to help themselves. Right. Because some people, they're takers. They're going to take everything, but they're not going to do nothing with whatever it is that you're going to teach them or give them.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. So before I let you tell people how they can find you and connect with you, I do have one more question.
Okay.
So how often do they intersect? Sell it. So let's say you're selling a house.
Got you.
You find out that person don't got life insurance, or let's say you're doing life insurance and somebody's trying to find a house.
Got you.
Like, is it seamless, or do you have to be intentional? Like, just walk me through if it does intersect.
You know what?
Because that's a jack of all trades right there.
You know what? It normally does not.
Oh, really?
So yeah, like it truly depends.
I think it should.
Yeah. Like, so I will talk to people about it, but it's more so like on the insurance side. Like, it's not really like if I'm talking to somebody, like we're talking about real estate. Yeah. Now, if I'm doing something just like out shopping or something, like I'll share something with someone about me doing real estate, but it don't often intersect. Right. It don't often. So. But I do mention it, you know, in regards to like the life insurance side. Like if we're talking about life insurance, you know, I do mention, hey, do you have a home? Are you looking to sell your home? You know, buy your home? Like, what are you putting in this?
I ain't gonna hold you. I did not expect that. I thought it crossed it.
It doesn't quite intersect. It doesn't. Yeah. At least not for me, it doesn't. I can't speak for nobody else.
Right.
Like it doesn't. Yeah. And I think for me, I guess I try to keep it separate, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess I try to keep it separate, which I probably need to intertwine it, but I try to keep it separate.
I mean, because it's all book of business.
It literally is.
It all coincides.
You're right. It does.
But I love it. So with that being said, I definitely want you to let people know how they can find you.
All right. You can find me at, well, I can give out my number. I don't quite care. Because if it's somebody I don't know and they're crazy, I'll just block them.
Absolutely.
My number's I'm one of them. Like, it doesn't faze me. My number been the same for years. My number's 412-628-4803. My personal email is blanchardshaunte@yahoo.com. My real estate email is sblanchard@tprsold.com. My life insurance email is shaunte.blanchard@primerica.com. So that's it. You can either email me, text me, call me, what have you. And I'm on Facebook. My social is just my name. It's just Shaunte Blanchard. I'm straight to the point. Yeah. Nothing extra. I don't even have time for all that.
And like always, we'll have all her contact information in the description of the video, at the bottom of the video. And then also, if anyone wants to reach out to me to get to her, we are good friends. She is one of the people that I love to talk to. She does amazing work. She actually gives me great advice. She always shows up and shows out. I am a huge fan of her, and I just want to give her her flowers because as our relationship continues to evolve, when I need some type of help or, you know, to talk something through or just get more knowledge, she's a reliable resource. She shows up to Let's Talk About It Tuesday.
I do. I love it. And I be winning too.
Yeah. So, you know, I just want to thank you so much for coming and being a part and just giving the knowledge and information that I know we need to continue to give to our people. Phenomenal.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So this is Financial Literacy with TC. We will see you on the next episode. And I appreciate you guys watching like always.
We out. Yeah. Bye.
I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, Oh, I'm on a pod with TC,